Yes, I am so serious. Where do we go from here? Well, I can't answer that question, so I don't have a crystal ball here. I don't know, but I do know the guy that knows, the real guru of where we go from here. And let's take a look at the last 6 months. Colin Plume is with us from NobleGoldInvestment.com. Colin, how's it going?
Pastor Paul, it's always a pleasure and good to see you. You're looking as fit as ever. And it's been a little over 6 months, so it's probably a good time to do a recap. Obviously, we haven't talked about the new administration, inflation, the markets, and kind of how all this would affect precious metals and commodities. So I'm glad I'm able to get on here and kind of do a recap and then also give you some indication where I think the rest of the year is going to go.
All right, so this year gets started, and like you said, the new administration, the Biden administration, they haven't really passed much legislation since he's got in there because they can't. Between the two other houses of our government, they're so close and narrow, nobody can agree. So anyway, but it looks like they're getting ready to do a big stimulus package. So let's start with this. I'm just looking. I mean, the stock market's 35,000. Bitcoin's 46,000. A little lower than it probably was at the beginning of the year. Gold and silver pretty solid, 1,729, and silver's around 23. And so those numbers haven't fluctuated a lot. But what is the value of our money?
Right. Well, I think it's with inflation, it's typically, you talk about small moves and over time, but actually in the last year, it's been a lot of large moves. And it kind of goes across the board. One of the things that people have been talking about is just like lumber prices. We saw the price of lumber go up over 400%. Really astronomical prices. If you looked at a year ago to today, people started to think, oh, I got some time in my hands. I'm going to go ahead and start, fixing some things around the house, maybe putting a new roof on or adding to their homes. And, they go to their local home goods store or their, Home Depot. They find out that their project is a lot more expensive than where they thought it was going to be. And a lot of that, trickled down to the fact that they just couldn't keep up with production. It wasn't the price of the actual lumber. It was just they couldn't get enough out. There's not enough mills to be able to get it out in a quick enough manner. Partly because a lot of places shut down because of COVID. Partly because they sort of anticipated there'd be a slowdown, and it went entirely in the opposite direction because now everybody is just really focused on, making their house as perfect as it can be. Really, most people are working from home for the foreseeable future. That's where things are going. So everybody's adding on, putting a nice office. So you saw that price really jump and people were, had that sticker shock. And then you just go across the board. You look at food prices have soared. Meat costs, milk. I mean, you go fruit. You go down the line of all the things that you eat every day. Everything is. Some of it is doubled. Some of it's gone up 30%. But it's a pretty significant increase. And then the government finally said, "Oh wait, we do have inflation," and they finally reported a legitimate number of above 4%. Over the last few months, which they've been telling people 2% for a long time. So you had all these inflation costs kind of go up, and so people started to look around and think about ways that they can keep up with inflation. And obviously people have been diving into the stock market. It's part of the reason the stock market's at an all-time high, and home prices are at an all-time high. So we have a lot of bubbles here. I think people should be careful of, because we've never seen these prices in homes. We've never seen these prices in the stock market. So it's important to look at, what the upside is, but also, is there some downside too, and making sure that you're protected with diversification and different investments. So
there's a lot of plates in the air, a lot of bubbles, a lot of spinning plates,
right.
And even gas prices have, I mean, that's shot up, which that's affecting freight.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think, the next thing to look at is the Biden administration. They're heavily focused on EV. I mean, there's no secret they want to move towards electric vehicles for the government, for people, for everybody. So if you don't think that this is the place to be, you got your head in the sand. EV is where it's going to be. That's where I would recommend everybody really look at in terms of the next 5 to 10 years, because it makes sense for us to bring down the costs of everything. And if gasoline prices are going to continue to soar, we got to continue to move to more sources that are more sustainable and more cost effective. Obviously, there's the benefit to the earth, and that's important too. But really, at the end of the day, the biggest thing is it saves us money. I think that most people, from a business point of view, are looking at that. So you have that, and that bill. I mean, the Paris Accord. Biden's already said he's going to go back. We're going to get involved with that again. This new Biden, this infrastructure bill, has a lot of different levels. Where it talks about electric vehicles in that bill. So they're pushing it on multiple levels. So that's going to continue to push the demand. And silver is a big component of these electric vehicles. So you're going to see this silver demand continue to skyrocket. So I think there's a lot of benefit right now to commodities that have a limited supply. And I know they've gotten beat up a little bit in the last 60 days. You've seen some pullbacks, but I also think they moved so much from last year that it's not unnatural to have a little bit of a pullback. I mean, we had gold prices in the 1400s. We rose to 2060. We had silver get down to 1370. So it rose all the way up to 29. So we had a little bit of a pullback here. And, the traders on the floor at Noble Gold, when you see this pullback, that's when you see the whales start to come in. A lot of the whale money is coming in right now. And I talked to a few of my sales associates this morning that they were sort of talking about that it's always the same dynamic. When you have a pullback in silver of 40, 50, 60% over a day or two, you see these just monster buys of silver. And so that's what we're seeing happen. At least with Noble Gold, we're seeing some pretty significant buys of silver right now.
So so the big whales come in, they buy a ton of it, right. And obviously it would have kept on going up had they not come in and bought such amounts. Then again, it changes the whole dynamics of what the market's doing.
Absolutely, yeah. And then I don't want to be a Debbie Downer, but I don't know if you've been reading about the shipping crates coming over from China, the prices on these crates. I mean, there might be some coal in some stockings this Christmas, because the amount of money to get these goods overseas is astronomical. These crates used to cost $2,000 to $3,000. They're averaging $20,000 to $30,000 a crate right now to get goods from overseas, from China. So, and it goes back to something too, like buy American, avoid that. We know that the pandemic taught us that if we don't really hunker down and buy goods here in the U.S., we're in trouble. If we don't, help our neighbors, help our business owners locally, we're in trouble. And, when these manufacturing plants overseas can't get goods over here, we saw it gets scary. And so it's important to really, even if you got to spend a little bit more, to focus on really buying American. And it's sort of an old school idea, because we went through this globalist time for the last 5 or 6 administrations where we really focused on having equal trade all over the world. But I think it's important that if you can buy some toys, instead of buying from China, you can buy them locally, pay a little bit more, keep it here. We can sort of avoid this situation where we're so dependent on a lot of these other countries in the world, and it really kind of keeps our economy going. So hopefully people look at these situations, these expensive shipping containers and the cost of goods, and they go, you know what? There's somebody here in the U.S. that makes this, and I can buy this locally and really help our economy.
Folks, it's noblegoldinvestment.com. That's www.noblegoldinvestment.com. You can call Colin or one of his associates at 877-646-5347. That's 877-646-5347. And let him help you. You know, when you're looking at your 401k out there and you're starting to wonder about your retirement, and you look, if your buying power is shrinking, you have to look at this. And it sounds like over 4% inflation in the first half of this year. That's outrageous.
That's government reported, right?
Yeah.
Government reported. I mean, if you go to shadowstats.com, John Williams, who's a Dartmouth economist who's been studying this for the last 40 years, he uses the same formula for CPI that they used when Reagan was in office. If you use that formula, inflation right now is over 13%. So because they've changed the formulas, they continue to change, they pull things out. So that's a big reason why inflation numbers are so low. And you know, them keeping inflation low allows them to continue this same debt cycle, right? Because they can continue to print money because they say it doesn't really have a big effect. But once inflation hits these high numbers, then people are going to say, hey, maybe we got to slow down the printing press, and that hurts the banks. That hurts certain institutions who just are literally getting wealthier and wealthier just on debt. So that's why that number is sort of skewed a little bit. But, you know, one thing too, while we're talking about, you know, inflation and diversifying, you know, another thing that you can do with us is we also have a cryptocurrency part of our company. MyDigitalMoney.com is live. It's a self-trading platform. It offers all the bells and whistles on a self-trading platform, but it comes with customer service. Same kind of customer service as Noble Gold. Different company because it's a different setup, but you get the same kind of customer service. So for someone like you, let's say Pastor Paul, and you've been considering maybe getting into crypto, we have a free Play Money account. So you can go in, log in, create a password, get in there, and trade for free, see how the process works, track it for a month or two to see if you make any money and if you like it, and then you can go ahead and fund it with actual dollars. So for someone that's been considering this, you know, we offer a solution there that could be good for a lot of people. So if you're looking to get into some diversification, you like gold, silver, Noble Gold Investments is there. We can help you with that process. Or if you're looking to diversify into crypto, you know, we have this platform there that's real easy to use. I literally set it up so that anybody can use it. I told the developers I want, you know, from someone 12 years old to 80 years old to be able to use this easily, and I think we've been able to achieve that.
Wow! So it's you're moving, you're adjusting with the times, you're remaining flexible so that people can move forward in this ever-changing world and market, folks. Certainly, we've got a video here to show you more about Noble Gold that we'd like to play, and we'll be right back with Colin with more important messages and information. So here we go.
It's been interesting for gold investors, to say the least. After surpassing its all-time high, it's been resting in the $1,900 range before dropping in the $1,800 range, then back to $1,900. This seeming volatility is inspiring investors to ask, when is a good time to buy gold? Should I still be buying gold? Is there anything left to gain? Or should I cash out? First, I would say don't panic. Pullbacks are common. In fact, they're expected. It's true in every investment you're going to make. There's no single investment that will constantly be bullish. That being said, the price shifts of gold in the last several years are by no means wild. In fact, now, in my opinion, is a really good time to buy gold because all of the economic factors lead us to believe buying gold is a good opportunity. And I can't honestly think of anything more perfect right now than a gold investment. And there's two general reasons that it's a good time to buy gold. One, gold's rising potential industry is one of the reasons that people should invest right now. There's an increase in demand for communication devices, phones, data servers, computers, medical research, aerospace. Obviously, we've talked about curing cancer. There's some research going there. All these are heavy users of gold. Second is just the global political, economic situation, social instability. We have an election coming up. We have fundamental concerns regarding the US dollar. We're still fighting everything that's going on with COVID and whether we're going to reopen or not. And then the biggest thing, in my opinion, is just the unprecedented amount of stimulus, the low interest rates. It's the perfect opportunity for gold. There's other factors there too. People see gold dipping to 1800, they may get nervous. And a lot of people were saying when it hit 1800 that gold's just a novelty and that it's not here to stay. But a lot of people, a lot of long-term investors believe that hitting 1800 it creates a buying opportunity. And I think that if you're a long-term investor, that's something that you should consider. Obviously, weigh your risks, be conservative, but I do think there's going to be some buying opportunities in the gold market over the next 12 to 18 months.
Are you just getting into metals and you want to learn more? Check out our gold and silver investment guide. It has all the information you need, all the questions answered, and a really good read for someone just starting out. If you want to learn about investing in gold and silver, click the link below.
Folks, as soon as you can see noblegoldinvestment.com, that's www.noblegoldinvestment.com, or you can pick up the phone and call Colin or one of his associates at 877-646-5347. Colin, I thought about something else you said, Buy American. If I remember right, the former president said that was his opening. He ran on that. Yep. We need to get things moving now. This is way before COVID. Yeah, and thank God he was able to get some of this stuff, or we would have been really in a world of hurt with infrastructure.
He definitely planted the seed, and I think that was, we had a lot of, obviously there was a lot of talk about the tariffs with China, which was a very unpopular subject until COVID hit, right? I mean, I think then it was like, wait a minute, this was an unpopular topic, but and in some areas, I think he could have gone about it more delicately, especially with the farming community. There were some mishaps there, but just on goods in general, I think the sentiment was correct that we need to focus on not giving discounts and because doing a 10, 15, 20, 30% tariff and creating that cost prohibitive, it really forces someone, if it levels the playing field here, where someone that can take that job and manufacture that product and get a nice wage to do that here, all the money stays here, right? We spend money here and it circulates here. So I think that it was a point that was missed because there was some friction there, but it is something to really keep in mind. And I think that as inflation starts to kick in, I mean, people are obviously going to be concerned about the cost of goods, right? And this is what happened, to be honest, this is what happened in the early 80s. If you look at it, this is why a lot of this move towards China is because we had heavy inflation. And so people just started to think about the bottom line. They were focused on just getting the goods at the cheapest price, which really from the 80s until the last few years really hurt us just from a manufacturing, from a job situation point of view. So I think bringing jobs back here, focusing on making products here is really important. And that's why, at Noble Gold, we've always focused on having live people. When you call us, people I think are sort of shocked that they're talking to someone here live in the United States. We have people that work all over the country here for us at Noble Gold. But you're going to talk to someone live here in the United States, and I think people appreciate that. And yes, it does cost us more money to employ people here, and we have a tremendous staff. But the important thing is that we keep the money here. And I think when you're dealing with people's finance, when you're talking about gold and silver, you want to know that people are local, that we're going to be around, and that when we'll sell that gold and silver down the road, that we're here to do that for you and buy it back, so you can get, you can move it into cash or whatever else you need at that point.
That's what's really great, because you can pick up the phone and call 877-646-5347. You will get a live person who actually cares and will actually listen to where you are in your financial picture and can give good advice on how to diversify, and whether it's time to go into precious metals or into Bitcoin or into stock market or some other type of way of diversifying in all of them. I mean, right now, I guess without looking at each individual portfolio, where are you leaning right now for some of the folks, maybe if they're looking to get into some diversification on their 401k?
Yeah, I was talking to, so I have these two brothers, Josh and Sagamore, that have been working with me for a long time. They're big gold and silver buffs, and two of these, talk about knowledgeable, and they practice what they preach. They've been telling me that they're loading up on silver every month, and we started to get into real technical analysis that I won't bore you with here about why silver is a great value, but we've been really discussing that this silver is just ready to pop. And so, these two guys, Josh and Zach, have been helping people really get into silver. A lot of people, a lot of reviews about these two guys. But it's fun for us to talk to people. That's what they always tell me, is that they love this job. It doesn't feel like a job because they're talking to people about things that they love. And so it's really great to have people inside the company that believe in what we're doing, that love to talk. And they say sometimes you just give information and it's not the right time, and that's okay too. But ultimately, in this day and age, just be able to talk to people about precious metals is what we really love to do. So I think silver is the thing that everybody's talking about. Obviously, gold is it's been traded for 5,000 years, so it's got value there. But really, silver, I think, is really affordable right now.
It's got the upside for sure. Silver would, especially when you look at solar panels and different components. There's such a desire and need. And anyway, I think that they're still mining silver at almost more than the price of silver. At some point, that's
Yeah, it's very expensive to mine silver. It's expensive, and there's no doubt there's not enough silver above ground right now to fulfill all the need. Biden's goal is to get to EV vehicles being sold, electric vehicles sold in the United States 2030. His goal is that 50% are going to be electric vehicles. You need silver in those cars. There's just no two ways about it. So if we're going to be pulling gas cars off the road, and we need more silver to fulfill the batteries from these electric vehicles, they're going to have to find it from somewhere. So the silver that people are holding right now is going to go up. And it's, if you look at inflation right now, you can't look at bonds anymore. You can't. Those investments now are people just, they can't make a return. If the government says it's 4 or 5%, you can't put your money in 1.5%, 2% in a bond. You can't leave it in a savings account. So, unfortunately, this is the economy we're in. The saving, putting money in cash is sort of dead. And so you've got to keep up with inflation. And I think it's low so far this year, but I really like I think silver is going to end above 30 before the end of the year is my guess.
Thanks, Colin Plume's with us, noblegoldinvestment.com. And you can talk to Colin or one of his associates at 877-646-5347. And you might say, look, I don't know what to do. Some of you are sitting on a 401k for the last 20 years, and that thing is volatile. Okay, it's volatile. If it's all in the market, especially. I'm not an economist, but I would say you don't need to have a one-legged stool here. You got to get some balance, and I think that's what Noble Gold brings. They bring you that balance. They bring you that expertise.
Yeah, and I'll say this, Pastor Paul. When this infrastructure bill passes, and it's going to pass eventually at some point, by next year, when we realize the amount of debt that we're going to be, it's this is the wrong time for this bill, unfortunately. As much as I believe it's going to pass, because listen, first-term presidents, they typically get something big passed in their first, 12 to 16 months. So, in my opinion, it will pass. But adding this debt on right now just is really not the best thing to do. We need to focus on jobs. We need to focus on, and I think businesses. We need to help business owners right now. And I know an infrastructure bill could help a lot of businesses, but the majority of businesses would not be helped by this bill, in my opinion. And I don't think adding on this much debt right now is
I think the small business owners have been hit the hardest. The landlords have been crushed. I don't know how some of these folks are still in business, and they're being left behind in this infrastructure process. They're left out again. I don't know how much longer. What if we don't take care of small business? I think we end up with just a conglomerate of czars, oligarchs like Russia, running the whole nation. So
we got to let small business owners. We got to give them some room to grow, and a lot of people that lost their jobs last year are starting businesses right now, as they should. They want to take their own life and their family's life into their own hands, and we need to give them some room to run. So the idea that some of their costs as a business owner are going to go up in their first few years it just doesn't make a lot of sense right now. So I think we got to be careful where things are going. I'm not saying it's not a good time to start a business, because you're going to have bumps and bruises no matter when you start, but I think it's scary to think about the debt that we're going to be in next year. I mean, they're talking about trillions and trillions of dollars. What is it, $5 or $6 trillion that's going to be created by this bill? So the numbers they're not even fathomable. I mean, it doesn't even seem real anymore, the amount of debt we've gotten into. So I think you look at where we're sitting with the dollar and the hedges against the dollar. The natural hedges are real money, and real money is gold and silver. So we're bracing here. I think the last month or two has been a tiny bit slower, and our staff needed it, to be honest. A lot of them went on vacation and needed some time to themselves, but I told them they got to buckle up for this last 4 or 5 months of the year, because it's going to be a busy one.
All right. Well, Colin, we appreciate you coming on and being with us today. Where do we go from here? It sounds like diversification. Sounds like you got to get out of the cash into something tangible. That sounds, because inflation is still going to go up.
Absolutely.
No doubt about it. Colin, thank you so much. We appreciate you.
If you missed the groundbreaking webinar from Paul Begley Prophecy Ministries, Aliens, Angels, and Demons, you can still watch it all on DVD. Featuring a lineup of experts and theologians including Paul Begley, William Henry, L.A. Marzulli, Steve Quayle, Laura Eisenhower, Rex Bear, and more. Aliens, Angels, and Demons, the DVD. Now available at paulbegleyprophecy.com.